The rest of today we'll be talking about VuFind at specialized information services. So we're first going to have a presentation, and then there will be discussion time following that. So everyone is welcome to stay and talk, or if you've had enough after the presentation, feel free to drop off early. But either way, thank you to Anna Lingnau and Sebastian Stoppe for telling us about VuFind for specialized information services.
So thank you for your interest. And I have to mention with us are also some of our team members who work with us on the project, which are Maisut Mutzel and Pascal Kanter. And also, I think Andre Lahmann is also in the session today. Our topic today is how we use VuFind for specialized information services, and to bring you all on the same page, because I think specialized information services are a very German thing. FID, we call them FID, which is the German abbreviation for Fachinformationsdienste, the German word for it. And FID are funded by the German Research Foundation, and they are maintained by libraries who apply for that funding for every 3 years. And FID target the information needs of one scientific community in Germany, regardless of location. So the FID BBI, for example, which I'm the project coordinator from, is concerning information needs of scientists and book studies, library and information science. And Sebastian Stoppe, who is the project coordinator of the FID adlr.link, is concerned with the information needs of researchers in media studies and communication studies. And what FID are doing is that they mainly try to cover information needs which can't be covered by local libraries because they are too complex to serve or too expensive. And FID bundle those information needs of scientists and transit them into one central service. So you see, our community is not defined by location, but by more by their academic status. And therefore, we are also operating merely digital. And in this sense, there are also some special challenges that arise for the development of information infrastructures. So FID usually have 3 task areas, which is one, invest money on information resources and special rights of use. Second, we are also active in public relation work. We do consult, and we also conduct workshops on subject-specific topics. And the third task area, which is the most important, of course, for today, is that we build digital infrastructures. And one very typical element of this infrastructures is usually a research catalog on the subject the FID is concerned with. So therefore, FID catalogs or research catalogs have some very special requirements. So usually the research catalog is working like a digital bibliography, and therefore we have to make multiple sets of resources searchable via one interface, and we are not displaying just the holdings of one local library. And as I said, users are coming from different locations, which you also have to keep in mind by giving access to resources. And we also have a very big need for adding more features and service, and therefore we need an infrastructure which is very much customizable. And the last very important point is that we also want to be able to share data and software with other FID, because we all get the same funding, and we all have very similar structural conditions for our projects, and therefore it's very important that we are working together efficiently. So, of course, now it's not a very good idea to decide to use a commercial infrastructure or a commercial discovery system. So we, of course, decided to use VuFind. And by doing so, the FID BBI and the FID adlr.link are working very closely together. So we are both members of the finc community as well as 2 other FID. And within that community, we not only share VuFind as a core infrastructure, but we also have common indexes. And both the infrastructure and the indexes are constantly improved and enhanced. And what we are also doing is that our developers support each other. So they often work according to their expertise, and we share our resources. So that was a very short introduction on specialized information services and the technical needs. And now we want to present to you some of the modules that we developed to adjust VuFind to our needs. So the turn is yours, Sebastian.
Thank you. Yes, as Anna mentioned, we have some special needs which cannot be covered by the VuFind standard configuration. For example, we, as Anna said, aimed at a wide audience. So basically everyone in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland can sign up with the FID. And so we have no local library system at our hand for user account managing, for example. When we started adlr.link in 2016, we had a simple MySQL database to manage user accounts. We decided to develop a more sophisticated system. So we relaunched adlr.link in 2019 with a VuFind 5 instance and a brand new redesign. And alongside this, we launched FIDIS, which is the FID information system. And as you can see, FIDIS is handling all user accounts. So it integrates with VuFind, features like the favorite lists or something like that. But users can sign up, they can manage their accounts independently without showing up here in Leipzig, for example, to sign up for a user account. Anna, could you proceed to the next slide?
Okay.
Yeah, here's the screenshot. You can see every user is able to manage his own account online. So you have full information and full control over the whole user data. You can see here that basic things like name, address, email address, institution information. Also, a user group can be added, so we can manage access to certain licenses we have acquired to certain user groups. You can see this. There is an access to, here is this called all services and licenses, and staff view, which is the basic mark records. So that can be managed all through this FIDIS module. And the next slide, please. And you can see here in the back end, the administrators can change the accounts of the users. So we can limit the access to all services. We can limit the access altogether if something goes wrong with an account. We can flag them for deletion. Everything is possible to manage user accounts in this place. And everyone can sign up instantly and completely online and instantly use our services. Anna, it's your turn again.
Okay. One more feature which we added to VuFind is concerning the availability of resources. So again, we deal with a user group which is situated all over Germany. So it's a very complex task to give them information about the accessibility of the contents in our catalogs. And this was especially hard when we didn't have the user management system in the time before. And also if the user is not logged into his account. And therefore, what we did was to build an API to the Worldcat. And you might know that the Worldcat uses an IP recognition technology. So via the IP of the user, it is possible to locate the respective internet providers that belong to the address space. And then the Worldcat automatically generates a list of possible geographic locations based on that address. So what we are doing is we are sending a title identifier and the IP address of the respective user to the Worldcat. And then if it's successful, we get back a list of possible locations. But of course, the internet provider never gives out all the information about the user's location. So therefore, the list can be a bit inaccurate sometimes. But nonetheless, it's a very useful tool. And usually you will find a library in your area which has a holding of that title.
Yeah, and we also did a module which enables us to show an advanced availability service. So the whole idea of the FID is to provide users with the respective literature and resources that is relevant to the respective field of studies. And we do this in a three-step process. The first is we want to show as much as resources as possible in our index, so that every researcher can use our catalog to look up literature. Second, we want to show the user which literature is available and where it is available, where it is located. And third, we want to enable access to the literature on a very easy way. So we developed a way in which we can provide users availability information individually. So as I have shown you before, you can choose a home library in the user account. Basically, this is an extensive list of academic libraries throughout Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And basically, when you sign up with an account at adlr.link, you simply choose a home library, which is the library you have direct access to at your residence. So if you do that, Anna, the next slide, please. This is the list, and if you do this, we get some information about you as a user that we can use. For example, we have the IDs for the German journal library, in which all electronic resources are located, or for the database info system for academic databases. We know in which regional library network you are located, and finally, we get the ISO information of your library. The next slide. So this is all of the ID information we get about your home library in a regular expression. And what we do with that is that we use a resolver and looking up information in the Common Union Index, the GVI. It's an index which comprises records from all indexes of the German regional library networks. The next slide, please. You see, it's a simple query in which we use the ISBN, the resource, and the ID from the network. And what we get back is an ISIL and a call number. And we use this information to show every user individually if a certain record is available at the local library. And on the front end, it shows like this. You see, there is a button available in your library for a resource when you look at the details. And if provided, we can also give you the call number. So all you have to do is to walk into your local library and get the book if you want to. We do this also with journals with a different resolver in Germany. Next slide, please, Anna. In which we look up if a certain journal or an issue of a journal is available from your library, whether electronically or in print. And if you have a case like this, in which a certain article is not a license by your home library, you can order it free of charge and we provide it to you via a document delivery service. So in every case, we try to get access. We try to provide access to the respective resource. And next slide, please, Anna. And finally, we do this equally with databases. You can access a list of subject-specific databases, either those who are free to access in the internet, or databases which are specifically licensed by your home library. And if you click on that, you'll get direct access if you are in your university network. Anna, your turn.
Okay, one more feature that we added just a few weeks ago concerned the very frequent duplicates in our data, because as I said, we have many different data resources, and with them come different metadata formats and also different levels of complexity in the metadata, and therefore you find a lot of titles which seem to be duplicates, but on the metadata level they are not. So you can see here by looking at this example, the first title has a secondary title, the second one has not, and the third has the secondary title in the main title, and you also have different formats for media types. So you can't automatically filter those duplicates from the system, and you also do not want to miss on the ebook. Nonetheless, we don't want users to scroll through a long list of duplicates in some rare cases, and therefore we tried to implement a result grouping by assigning a match string to every record. So the match string is composed of author, year, and title. And if this match string is identical, we group those titles together, and you can expand the list if you want, but you don't have to. So that's a very good way out to make our result list a little bit more clear. Yeah, as you see, there's a lot of potential by sharing resources, and also by using VuFind and adjusting it to our needs. So if you have any questions on our services, feel free to ask. We've also, I've posted a link in the chat where you can look up the modules that we just presented, and they are ready for reusing.
Unfortunately, it seems that the chat is only for hosts and panelists. That
but is it visible for everybody?
I will post it in the Slack, and I'll find a way to post it to the people watching on Zoom in a moment.
I bet if somebody in the audience puts a question in the Q&A saying, what is that URL? We can then paste it in as an answer, and then we'll have a record of it. I did over the break research whether there was a way to enable chat, and it appears that it's turned off for the whole Open Library Foundation account. So I think we'll have to get by with Slack and Q&A.
Okay, so
I see several questions, most of which are, what is that URL? And one of them that just says, let's go. So that I posted the URL. If you go to the answered section of the Q&A, go to the bottom, there are multiple answers now that have the URL in there. So sorry for the workaround, but thank you for providing that link, Anna. With that, we open up the floor for other questions. I'm currently not seeing any questions in the Q&A or on Slack at the moment. So if you have a question, you can be the first in line to start off this discussion.
I should also say that as we move into the discussion group portion of the day, if there are more people who need to be able to actually speak, I'm happy to promote them onto the panel. So
that would be very helpful, because yeah, we want to discuss a lot of, and we need the input of our colleagues. So yeah.
So anyone who would like to talk, feel free to use Q&A to say, can I please join the panel, or raise your hand and I can pull you in.
Can you even raise your hand if you're not a panelist?
I see a raised hand, so I am going to.
So you can. Yeah.
I'm going to try promoting.
Well, there is a question in the chat, but I think I don't know the answer to it. So, Sebastian, do you know?
Yeah, I'm not quite certain. We reused a feature which is featured in the interlibrary loan portal of the Southwest German Library Network, and maybe they use the VuFind FRBR feature, but I'm not certain of that. But we reused this feature.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just forgot that nobody can see the chat. So regarding the result grouping, did you implement this feature from scratch, or did you modify the VuFind FRBR feature which was added in 7.1? So we are currently in VuFind 5, so I don't think we
as I said, we reused a feature which is already implemented in the interlibrary loan portal of our region network, and we adapted that for our needs.
Yes, and the feature introduced in 7.1 allows you to correlate different versions of records, but it doesn't currently incorporate actual Solr result grouping. So it's a little bit different, though certainly related in terms of generating keys and so forth.
There is by the way, there is a reason for not using Solr for the result grouping, and that it has traditionally had some annoying limitations that have resulted in us not being able to use it. For instance, it hasn't been really good with Solr Cloud and distributed index, but I'm not sure if that's changed recently. At least in the past, it didn't quite work out if you have had a distributed index.
Something we haven't talked about yet today, but perhaps we'll talk about tomorrow, is that Solr 9 is here, I believe. So that's another thing we'll have to take some time to look at.